morning, students. In this video we will learn about the thoracic vertebrae, and in the first video on thoracic vertebrae I will limit myself to the typical thoracic vertebrae, and I will tell you the joints between the two adjacent vertebrae, that is the intervertebral joints. Will tell you about the formation of the intervertebral foramina, and will also tell you about the formation of the costovertebral and costotransverse joint. So this is going to consist of the description of the typical thoracic vertebrae. In the second video on thoracic vertebrae, I will tell you about the atypical vertebrae and about its ossification of vertebrae and applied importance of the thoracic vertebrae. So let us come to the thoracic vertebrae. As you know, there are 12 thoracic vertebrae and they join to each other with the help of the intervertebral disc. Okay, their bodies, they join each other. So the column of the thoracic region, the vertebral column in thoracic region, is thus formed by 12 thoracic vertebrae and the intervertebral disc. Now this column is concave anteriorly, and I must have told you that this column is concave anteriorly when I must have shown you a diagram. Let us see this diagram again, okay? And this diagram is from my book Human Osteology, published by PP. You will see that this is the 12 thoracic vertebrae and their intervertebral discs which are between the bodies, and this column is concave forward, okay? So the thoracic column is concave forward. Now the thoracic, if you will see a thoracic vertebrae, you will see that it is bigger, okay, than that of the cervical vertebrae, and stronger also than that of the cervical vertebrae. Now then question comes, how you will identify that this particular vertebra is thoracic, okay, it is thoracic. That means how we will identify that it is thoracic, and then how we will differentiate it from cervical and that of the lumbar. In the first step we will learn only that how you will identify that it is the thoracic vertebrae, okay. For that, just remember the 3 points, okay, for identification of a thoracic vertebrae. Okay, there is presence of costal facet. Costal facet means facet for the head of the rib, because the ribs, they articulate in the thorax with the thoracic part of the vertebral column to form the thoracic case that we have already learned. So on the body, this is the body of the thoracic vertebrae, and on the side of this body you will see the presence of the articular facet. See this articular facet? Let me bring it to the camera and get it zoomed. Before that I will show you in this diagram. If you will see it on from the lateral side, then you will see that there is a facet here near the upper border at its junction with the pedicle. This is for the articular, I would say, facet of the rib head, okay. There is also a small demi-facet present here near the lower margin of the vertebral. So usually in a typical vertebra there will be 2 facet, costal facet for articulation with that of the vertebrae, but in some of the atypical vertebrae there may be only 1 facet, okay, onto the body at its junction with the with that of the pedicle, okay. So let us see these facets. The upper large facet is here, and there is a lower small demi facet. If it is seen on the vertebral body, and all the bodies either 2 facet or single facet, but there should be facet on thoracic vertebrae. If facet is there, it is nothing but the thoracic vertebrae. Second identification point of the thoracic vertebrae is that just try to see their transverse process, and near the tip of the transverse process there will be a oval or circular facet here, and this facet is for the tubercle of the tubercle of the rib. So the articular facet of the rib tubercle will articulate with the transverse process to form the joint what is called as costo-transverse joint. So see the facet for head, which will form the costo-vertebral joint, and see the facet on the transverse process. If it is there, it will form the costo-transverse joint. But remember that these facets are absent in the 11th and 12th thoracic vertebrae. But then definitely there is a facet, single facet on 11th and 12th vertebral body on the side, okay, more going towards the pedicle. So this is the second identification point. And the third identification point is that it has a long spinous process which is projecting downwards, okay, long spinous process which is projecting downward. That means the other vertebrae, cervical and lumbar, will not show the long spinous process which are directing downward. So if you will just concentrate on 3 points, then you can very easily identify a thoracic vertebra, okay, thoracic. Let's go further. Now the whole of the vertebral column of the thoracic region, as I said, consists of the 12 thoracic vertebrae and intervertebral disc, okay. In between, let us come to see out of these 12 thoracic vertebrae, how many of these vertebrae, their features resembles to each other. That means they are typical, okay. And for this, let us see the typical are from 2 to 9. Number 2 to number 9 are typical. That means they have the common feature. They have a little variation may be there, but for your purpose, 2 to 9 are typical vertebrae. That means from 2 to 9 only we will learn one single vertebra, which will be called as a typical vertebrae. Then there are other 4 vertebrae which are called as atypical out of 12. It is number 1 vertebrae, okay, thoracic vertebrae is atypical, and in next video I will deal with all these 4 atypical vertebra characteristic. Then after first thoracic, it is the 10th thoracic vertebra which is atypical, then it is 11th thoracic vertebra and the 12th thoracic vertebra. You can easily identify these 4 vertebrae because they have the separate bony features. They don't resemble to each other. So there will be no difficulty in identifying 1st, 10th, 11th and the 12th thoracic vertebrae. Okay. So this is the classification of typical and atypical thoracic vertebrae. Now let us come to the first typical, because since this video is meant for the description of typical thoracic vertebrae, so I will teach you the bony feature of the T2 to T9 thoracic vertebrae. And for these bony features, first we will learn about the body, okay. When you see the body of a typical thoracic vertebrae, mostly it is heart shaped, okay. Mostly, see this is heart shaped. And if it is from the lower series, that is if it is the 9, it may so happen that its body may not be a typical heart shape, but it may be cylindrical, okay, it may. But the body is there, either heart shaped or cylindrical body is there. Now the body is anteriorly placed. So this is the anterior aspect and spine is posteriorly placed. So always keep the vertebrae like this, where the body is placed anteriorly and spine is placed. So in anatomical position, this is in my position, in my body, okay. This is the body anteriorly placed and the spine is placed posteriorly, okay. Spine is always placed posteriorly. Now this body will show various surfaces. This is the superior surface. Why? Because here the spine is projecting downward. So the opposite surface is inferior and this is superior, which are the flat surface. And these flat surface, they will give attachment to they are covered by articular cartilage and they will give attachment to the intervertebral disc. to the superior surface as well as to that of the inferior surface. The other surfaces of the vertebral body are the right lateral, the left lateral, the anterior surface and the posterior surface. And all these anterior, lateral and posterior surface, they have the minute foramina. Can you see some minute foraminas? Yes. These are the minute foramina which are more common and more pronounced in the posterior surface of the body, and they are for the passage of the blood vessels. Okay, and the body is made up of the spongy bone covered by a thin compact bone all around. Okay, that means anterior, posterior and lateral surfaces, but there is no compact bone on superior and inferior surface which gives attachment to the intervertebral disc. Okay, now if you will see the body from that of the lateral side, see, this is the body lateral side. The feature which is to be noted is the presence of the facet, articular facet, near its upper border encroaching onto the pedicle, and near a small facet is seen near its inferior border. So this is the superior articular facet. I mean to say the articular facet here for the articulation with the head of the rib. Okay, head of the rib. This is also a facet here, demi-facet, which is for the articulation of the head of the rib, because if you remember, I told you in the ribs head has two facets, a large superior facet and a small inferior facet. I mean to say a small superior facet and a large inferior facet. Okay, so these are the facet on the surface of the body, lateral surface, close to the pedicle. Okay, now let us come to the second component of a vertebra. And which is the second component of the vertebra after body? This is the body, and the rest of the thing behind this body, they are called as vertebral arch or the neural arch, because it encloses a canal or the foramina in individual vertebrae, okay, which gives passage to the spinal cord or the neural tube. Okay, so the neural canal or the neural arch, not canal, it is the vertebral canal, and this is present in the vertebral arch or the neural arch. Now, neural arch or the vertebral arch has two components. One is the pedicle, a pair of pedicles, and then another is the laminae or lamina, right and left lamina. So right and left pedicle. So this bar-like bone which is taking origin from posterolateral aspect of the body is the pedicles. Okay, this is pedicle. They are here thin, okay, and then they have a surface, inner surface, outer superior border and inferior in thoracic. But in other vertebrae, you will see that they are like rounded bar-like structure. Okay. Now this pedicle, from the pedicle there comes out here posteriorly this vertical flat bone. See this vertical flat bone, and these are called as lamina. Okay, this is the left lamina, right lamina. They will fuse in the midline, and then this fusion will prolong as the spinous process downward. See this from this aspect also. It is the spinous process which has taken origin from the fusion of the right and left laminae. Okay, so this is the lamina. So what are the two parts of the vertebral arch or neural arch? Pedicles, right and left pedicle, which comes out from the body, and then from the posterior end of the pedicle, these are the right and left lamina which fuses in midline and gives a process, bony process called as the spinous process in midline, right? Now from this vertebral arches there comes out the 7 process, okay, out of which one process which was single process we have learned is the spinous process. The other two processes are the transverse process. This is the right and left transverse process. So this is the transverse process, and this is the spine or spinous process. This was the pedicle and this was the lamina. Okay, this was the lamina, and just draw a rough diagram in your notebook and keep following me. Okay, now let us come to the first pair, that is the transverse pair, but let me enumerate what are the other 7 process. Okay, taking origin from the vertebral arch or neural arch. I told you the this transverse process, right and left transverse process, one is spinous process, it makes 3, then 2 superior articular process. See here, if you see better from this view, these are the 2 superior articular process and these are the 2 inferior articular process. So there are 4 articular process. Okay, this is the superior articular process, and this is here the inferior articular process. Inferior articular process. So this is superior articular process and this is inferior. So there are 4 articular process, 2 superior and 2 inferior articular process. Okay, which are inferior, they come out from the laminae. Okay, laminae. Right, so these are the 7 articular process which are taking origin from that of the thoracic vertebrae, thoracic. Another feature to note is on the transverse process is to see a facet here, articular facet, okay, on the transverse process. In some vertebra, upper vertebra of the upper series, they will show a facet facing, okay, anteriorly, okay, anterolaterally rather, and the lower vertebrae, they will show the facet which is facing slightly upward. But there is a facet, okay, except in case of the 10th and 11th rib, all those vertebrae will show the presence of, but definitely in the typical there will be a facet. And as I said previously also, this facet on transverse process is, it will articulate with the tubercle of the rib to form the costotransverse joint. Okay, costotransverse joint. Right. This between the body and that of the neural arch, this foramina is called as the vertebral foramina. Okay, and when the successive vertebrae, they will articulate through intervertebral disc, this foramina will convert into a vertebral canal through which will pass the spinal cord and 3 meninges, dura, pia, and covering to the spinal cord will be the arachnoid. Now this is the bony features of a typical thoracic vertebrae. Now I will come to a little more complicated aspect which is formed by this thoracic vertebrae irrespective of typical or atypical. Okay, now we are going to that stage. Let us see how an intervertebral joint is formed, okay, between the 2 vertebrae, and for that I will first show you a diagram for the intervertebral. Before that I will tell you 2 more structure. This is the notch, okay, vertebral notch, which is called as inferior vertebral notch, and this is a shallow, like this. This is a shallow superior vertebral notch. In this diagram I can show you, this is the superior vertebral notch and this is the inferior vertebral notch. Okay, inferior is deep, superior is shallow. Okay, these are the notch formed by the body, pedicle and the lamina. Okay, and here also the body, then superior surface of pedicle and superior articular process. Now we come to the intervertebral joint. Okay, and I was saying that I will show you a diagram for the intervertebral. This is the inferior and superior articular notch, and then you can see here, this is a diagram which I have taken from my own book, and this is the body of the upper vertebrae, the body of the lower vertebrae, and this green color is the intervertebral disc. This is the pedicle of the upper vertebrae, the pedicle of the lower vertebrae. Okay, this is the inferior articular facet of the upper and this is the superior articular facet of the lower. They form a joint here, and this joint is the articular facet joint. Articular facet joint. Okay, then these two vertebrae, adjacent vertebrae, here one joint you have seen between the bodies, and this is through the intervertebral disc, which is a symphysial joint, fibrocartilaginous joint. I will not go into the detail of this intervertebral disc. Sometime I will tell you in a separate video about the intervertebral disc. Now let us see which are the two other joints. There are the three joints between the two adjacent. One is seen here on one side. This is the facet joint, okay, between the superior and inferior articular facet of the adjacent vertebrae. That can be better seen here. That means one joint is between the bodies of adjacent vertebrae, and then these are the two joints which are synovial joint. This was fibrocartilaginous symphysial joint, but these facet joints between the two superior articular facet and the two inferior articular facet of the upper vertebrae, they will form the facet joint, okay, facet joint. So there are three joints, intervertebral joints are three, which is seen better here into the as intervertebral disc, and that of here the first joint, which is a strong joint, and it is involved in the transmission of the load. And then there are the two facet joint posteriorly, okay. Let us see if I can get a diagram. No, it's not here. Anyway, so these are the three joints between the intervertebral joint. So which was the first joint? Interbody. That means between the two bodies, okay. And on both the surfaces, intervertebral disc, through the intervertebral disc. Let us come, the second joint was the synovial joint, and this was the articular facet joint, or simply facet joint. It is called as right and left because there were two, right and left, and it was synovial, okay. The movements are directed by this facet joint between the adjacent vertebrae, though it is a minimal movement. Let us come to this aspect, okay, of the vertebral column, intervertebral foramina. Partly I have shown you the intervertebral foramina. Now I will tell you its boundary. Let us see this, intervertebral foramina. Let me just enlarge or zoom it, okay. See, so we have zoomed this intervertebral foramina. Now this is formed by the posterior surface of the upper body, then intervertebral disc, then superior surface of the, inferior surface of the pedicle, then the lamina, then the inferior facet joint, superior facet joint, and thus they will form the facet joint here, okay. And then it is the superior articular facet, and that is the superior surface of the pedicle, lower pedicle. So this foramina on right side as well as the same will be seen onto the left side also, because pedicles and laminae, they are on both the sides, the facets are on both the sides, and this is that intervertebral foramina. And through this intervertebral foramina will come out what? The spinal nerve will come out. Then the spinal vein will go in and may come out also, okay. But the artery will go in to supply the spinal cord, okay. So vein, artery, nerves and lymphatics, they will go through this on the right side as well as onto the left side. So this is how an intervertebral foramina is formed. You will have to learn, okay, by keeping the two vertebral bodies on one another, okay. I have just kept it here. See this? Between the two body I have just left a gap, and this gap will be utilized for intervertebral disc, and then this gap, okay, is the intervertebral foramina. Oh, it has disturbed, okay. I will do it again. So you can see here, this is that foramina, that is the intervertebral foramina, and this is that facet joint here between the inferior facet of superior vertebrae and the superior facet of the inferior vertebrae. So this is that facet joint, and this is that intervertebral foramina, and this space will be occupied by the intervertebral disc. And what I was saying, that there is a large facet on the upper side of the body, upper border near, and a small demi facet here near its inferior border, okay, near its inferior border is here, right? So this is the things to be seen, and this is that facet which is also seen on the transverse process, okay, on the transverse. Now this is the right occasion to show you also another important fact in relation to this vertebrae is the costovertebral joint. So I come to the costovertebral joint, that means the joint between the rib and the vertebral body. And see here, this I have brought a typical rib which will show you the two facet, an upper facet and a lower facet. Upper facet is a small demifacet and the lower facet is the large. Let it focus. Let it focus. It will take some time to autofocus. Okay. So the upper facet is here and this is that the lower facet is here. Now I will articulate it with the body. Now this will go like this, okay. This is the upper facet will articulate with this small demifacet, and then the lower large facet will articulate with the large facet of the lower vertebrae. That means the head of the rib will articulate simultaneously with the two bodies, adjacent bodies, okay, and there is a ridge between the two facets, and this is the crest, and this crest gives attachment to ligament which will also gets attachment onto the intervertebral disc. So you can see that the head is articulating with the bodies, two bodies, okay. The lower large facet of the rib is articulating with the large facet on the lower vertebrae, and small demifacet is articulating, upper one is articulating with the lower demifacet here like that. And then there will be another articulation I can show you with this. This was the tip of the transverse process, okay. That is articular facet for the tubercle of the rib, and then this tubercle of the rib will, let me show you first here, that's a smooth tubercle of the rib here. This will go and will articulate here, okay. I will just put it here. See, this is going and articulating with this transverse process. What does it mean? Now you can see the complete articulation, that is the costovertebral and costotransverse articulation. That means the rib, okay, the main articulation is with the lower vertebrae where it articulates also with its transverse process. Suppose it is the 6th rib or 7th rib, this is the 7th vertebrae also. If it is 7th rib, this is the 7th vertebrae, lower one. But it also additionally gets attachment to that of the 6th rib, okay, with a small facet, okay, and intervertebral disc. It will also articulate with the transverse process of the 7th. That means to the corresponding rib will articulate with the corresponding, okay, vertebrae, okay. 7th rib, so 7th vertebrae, both costovertebral and costotransverse. Costovertebral and costotransverse, they will go to the same corresponding body and rib. I hope that you have understood, and you will have to practice these articulations, okay, by keeping the two vertebrae and the rib on the same side of that side to form an articulation. You got these articulations, okay? So this is that how the ribs and vertebrae will have the costotransverse and costovertebral articulations, okay? In the next video, I will try to complete all the atypical vertebrae. Then I will show you the ossification and will come to the clinical application of the thoracic vertebral column. And I will also tell you the functions of the various parts of the vertebrae. Thank you very much for watching this video.